Okay, welcome once again, wonderful people. This is Mr. Ndabezita, and if you remember, this is where we left off in the previous tutorial. We looked at call by value and call by reference. Now, what I want us to do this time is to look at the out parameter. So I'm just going to come in here just to try and understand this clearly. I'm going to demonstrate this using a different class. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to call this class an out parameter. Out parameter, and I'm going to add this class, and this is just a class. Now I want to demonstrate how an out parameter truly works, but let's just read a brief summary of what is happening here. In addition to passing values by reference, you can specify that a given parameter is an out parameter by using the out keyword, which is used in the same way as the ref keyword as a modifier to the parameter in the function definition and in the function call. In effect, it gives you almost exactly the same behavior as a reference parameter. We need to note these things. In that the value of the parameter at the end of the function execution is turned to the variable used in the function call. It's returned, right? However, there are important differences between ref and the out parameter. Whereas it is illegal to use an unassigned variable as a ref parameter, you can use an unassigned variable as an out parameter. Let me read this slowly for you. Whereas it is illegal to use an unassigned variable, where it is illegal, and we saw this with the objects. You cannot use an object if you did not assign it a value. It cannot be null. We dealt with many of these things, and we saw in the array list, we looked at the collection dictionaries and so on. We saw that objects, we cannot use an object without assigning it a value. So whereas it is illegal to use an unassigned variable as a ref parameter, you cannot use an unassigned variable as a reference parameter. The value that you want to use as a reference parameter must be assigned a value. You can assign it a value by immediately giving it a value, or you can assign it a value when you prompt and accept that value from the user, or the other way around. But a reference parameter cannot be used if it is not assigned. Right, and then we can say that in that case, you can use an unassigned variable as an out parameter. So an out parameter, it's possible that you can use it without having assigned it an initial value. Okay, an out parameter must be treated as an unassigned value by the function that uses it. So in the function call, you can just say an out parameter and it will accept that as an out parameter, right? This means that while it is permissible in calling the code to use an unassigned variable as an out parameter, the value stored in this variable is lost when the function executes. Okay, that is fine. And then we can continue in this. Now, let me just answer a call. I'm very sorry. Let me just answer a call and I will be back. Okay, let us continue with our reading. And all right, we said this means that while it is permissible in calling the code to use an unassigned variable as an out parameter, the value stored in this variable is lost when the function executes. Okay, that is fine. Now let us try to demonstrate this with a code, and we are going to do this with an array. And this is where I need much of your attention. I honestly need your attention here, because we haven't dealt this at arrays at a little bit more complex problem. So I urge that you listen very carefully here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare a method inside of this class, and this is going to be a static void, and I'm going to call this method the maximum value. So we want to accept simply an array, and we want to run through an array and find the maximum value. Okay, let me just do this. So static int maximum value, it will accept an int type of an array, and I will call this an int array. This is the first parameter that it will accept. It will just accept an array. And then secondly, it will accept an int maximum. Visual Studio, take me with you, man. Right, one thing that I'm going to do, so it accepts an array, and here let's not make it an int, let's make it an out parameter of type int. Very important. So it accepts two arguments. The first argument is an array static void, let me just say static int. Let me say, oh Jesus, what am I doing? Let me say I have this method static int maximum value, so it has a return type, it will return an int. So it's a static int, and I call this the maximum value, and it accepts two parameters. Right, the parameters that it accepts, it's an array first of all, and then I am going and then it accepts an out parameter of type int called maximum value. Right, and then let me declare a variable which I will call the maximum value. And I don't know what the maximum value is, but I can say the maximum value is going to be found inside of this int array. This int array at a specific position. So suppose I'm saying the int maximum, it's equals, this is, I'm just declaring a variable of type int, and I am saying that at position 0 in my array, please store this maximum for me. So it will accept an array of type int, and then at position 0, because this is just to specify at what location store that maximum value. So for now I'm saying the maximum value is at position 0. So this is just what I'm saying for now. All right, once that is done, and I assume that you are understanding what I'm saying here, I will say the maximum, let me just say the maximum value, or let me not say this is a maximum value, let me say the maximum index. So I will say that the maximum index, let me just say the maximum index is equals to 0. So what am I saying here? The second parameter, which is an out parameter of type int called maximum index, I'm assigning it a value of 0. So when I call this method, initially the maximum index is equals to 0. It has an int value of what? Of 0. Okay, that is fine. That is absolutely fine. So let me just check and maximum value method. All right, now let us continue in this. Now secondly, what I want to do, I know that in order to find the maximum value or the minimum value in an array, I need to loop through that array. So I will use a for loop to loop inside of that array. Right, so I will use a for loop. I will say for int I equals start at position 1. Because I know already at position 0 I have set the maximum value in the array is equals to that value that is inside of my array. So when I'm here, I'm not saying start at 0, I'm saying start at 1. Right. Jesus. Right. When that is done, the value of int I is equals to 1. And then secondly, the value of the I should be less than the array dot length. And then I will have I plus plus. Now let me explain what is happening here. I have a for loop. Inside of a for loop, I declare a variable of type int that is called I, and I initialize it with a value of 1. And then here I'm saying I should be less than the array dot length. What is this? This gives you the length. It returns an int. It tells you how many values are inside of your array. If in your array you have 5 values, then you know that the int array dot length is 5. So it will say is 5 less than, is I, which is 1, is 1 less than 5? Yes. It will go inside here, do something, increment, and so on. This is exactly what is happening. Alright, that is fine. And then once that is done inside of this for loop, let me just take here and for. Inside of this for loop, I want to now specify a condition, because I know that it will loop through every element that is inside of the array. Now what is it that I want to do? Now I want to say if the int array at a specific position, if that value at a specific position, remember it will run through the length of this, and it is running through every item that is inside of the array. Remember, that is what it does. Right, and then what is going to happen there? It will go to the first one here, int at a specific index. Inside of this array, it will start at position 1. It will check what the value is, position 2, position 3, and so on, and it will compare that with the maximum value. If the value at that specific position, suppose it is at position 0 or 1 and the value is 2, so it will check, is 2 bigger than the maximum value, which is currently 0? Yes. Then it will take that value and we will do whatever that we want to do there. So let me go inside. If that value at a specific index, I want you to understand this clearly. So let me just come, okay, where can I go? Suppose I have values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Suppose these are the values that I have inside of the array that you will pass when you invoke this method. In fact, we will do that in the main. Suppose these are the values, so it will stand at this index. Currently the maximum, please be careful, I'm not using the index here because the index is 0. I'm talking about the maximum value inside of the array. It will say, it will stand at this position, int array at a specific index. Suppose it is here. What will it do there? It will compare this value, and then I set start at 0. It will compare this value with the second value, with the third value, with the fourth value, the fifth value, and the sixth value. This is exactly what it will do. It will compare these values one with another. because I'm saying the maximum, it's equals to an int array element at a specific position. And look now what I'm doing here. Here I know that I starts at 1. So this array begins at 0, which is here, but this for loop starts at 1, which is here. So it will compare what? It will compare this value with that value, and so on, with this value with that value, and so on, until it finds the maximum value. Right, and then when I'm inside of the if here, I will say the maximum value is equals to the int array at that specific index. And then once I have done that, I will say the maximum index is equals to the position where the maximum index was found. So what is it that I'm saying? You have understood this part. We are saying the maximum value is equals to the int array at that specific position. Now, the maximum value here will be a value that was found inside there based on the condition. And that maximum value, I'm saying inside of that array where you have found that maximum value, store that inside of a variable called maximum. And remember, the maximum is equals to the int array at a specific int array 0. It will start at 0. So here it will have what now? It will have the maximum value, will have the maximum value that is in the array when it runs through every element inside there. So this is exactly what I'm doing. And then here the maximum index is 0, and then I'm saying the maximum index referring to what? To the position of where the element is. Where you have found the maximum index in this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will store the position. This one stores the position where that maximum index, it stores the maximum index. Maybe it was found at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will store the index 5. So maximum index is 5. At maximum index 5, that's where I found a value that is maximum. All right, that is fine. Let me just get rid of this. Right, so this is the if statement, and I'll just end the if. I have ended the for, and when I go out, I need to have a return. And what is it that I am returning now? I am returning the maximum value. After comparing each element with one another, it will therefore return the maximum. And then remember, it will stay at element 0, position 0, element 1, position 1, element 2, and then it will compare them like that, one with another. Right, okay, that is fine. That is fine. We understand what is happening there. So how are we going to now invoke this method in the main? So let's go to the main here. And the first thing, let's declare an array. So I will have an int array, which I will call my array. Right, and I will populate this array with values. So let me use values like 1, 8, 3, 6, 2, 5, 9 3 sorry 9 3 0 and 2. Okay, that's fine. Let's say this is my array. Okay, let me just here use a comma once again. Right, when that is done, let me just have a right line. Let me have a right line, and in this right line I want to say okay, let me just get rid of this. In this right line I want to say the maximum value in my array is, let me just use concat, and what is it that I want to say? Okay, let me just use interpolation here. All right, and then what I will do here, I will just simply say maximum value. Remember, I have to go to this method, and because it is a static method, I can access this method via the name of the class. So it is called out parameter. So I'm going to say out parameter dot, and I have access to what was the name of the method? Okay, let me check whether, let me just come here, let me make this public. Very good, and let's come here, out parameter dot, and now I have access to the maximum value. But I know when I invoke this method, it must accept an array first and an out parameter of type int. So what am I going to do there? I'm going to send my array because it accepts an array. There it is. I have declared an array there. Nothing mysterious about this. So I'm sending this array, separating with a comma. Now I need to send an out parameter. And now I am going to send an out which is of type int, and I'm going to say maximum index. Right. Now I want us to check here. I want to say maximum out maximum index. Let me say index. Right. Here we are. So I don't have that value for now. I honestly do not have that value for now. That value will come as an out. But let's come here. Right. Do I have a maximum index? Yes, there it is, maximum index. And when I come here, unnecessary assignment of the value maximum index. Now I want to come here and I want to say maximum index. Right. And then when I am there, let me just have a right line. I want to show you something. Let me have a right line, and in this right line what I want to do is the first occurrence the first occurrence of this value is, and I'm going to use concat together with interpolation, and I'm going to say at element, and I'm going to say maximum index plus 1. Now please, let's check something here. Let us try to check something. When I do this and I am saying, now remember the method here, accept an array, this is fine, and an out parameter, and I do where it is possible that whenever I did not assign, I'm using a variable that I did not assign it a value here. Here I am declaring a variable. It's an int. It's a variable of type int, but it is an out parameter called maximum index. And on this line, I want to use a variable that I did not assign. Therefore, on this line, I'm saying maximum index, and I'm saying plus 1. So what am I doing there? I am now assigning it a value. I am now assigning it a value. All right. Looking at our array here, I can see that the maximum value is 9. So let's just run this very quickly and check. The rain is going to disturb us, so I think I'm not going to do a lot in here. I just hope you understand, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Now let's check. It just says, and which is true, the maximum value in my array is 9, and it is 9. The first occurrence of this value is found at element 7. 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where the element was found, but at what index position? 6. So this is all what I wanted to share with you guys. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and I will see you in the next tutorial.